enjoying yourself? Fantastic. That's music to my ears. Okay, right. We next have a Catalyst panel on the humanity at the Crossroads. We're going to be looking at AI, quantum computing, and the Transhuman code. And to moderate this panel, please give a big warm welcome to David Fergusson. Hello.
Thank you, Ria. Good morning. Afternoon now. Time flies. Well, let me welcome you.
Ready?
I think they're coming. Great. I'm really excited about this session today. I've enjoyed very much the opportunity to have conversations here at the sanctuary this week, and I'm absolutely delighted and thankful for CNBC extending an invitation for us to come and tease a new venture with you here. It was actually here at the World Economic Forum 7 years ago when I first attended to come and talk about how we were going to finance the fourth industrial revolution, the technological revolution. I'm an investment banker by day, and lo and behold, the who's who of the global financial community was here, and I thought, well, I don't think that's going to be an issue. I think financing the fourth industrial revolution seems to have taken care of itself already. But what I did begin to appreciate, and at the feet of Carlos Moreira, who I'll formally introduce you to shortly, was the importance of ensuring that humanity stayed at the center of gravity in relationship between people and technology. And I took a personal interest in that. My twins were 15 at the time. My mother was just approaching 80, and I thought, oh my gosh, I've been exposed to so much knowledge over the course of this 1 week about not only what's happening and how it's happening, but also what's coming. I thought, how are we possibly going to translate that and communicate that out to the broader public? And so the concept at Carlos's urging was born that became the Transhuman code. And we workshopped this concept through the course of a year and a half, including here at Davos. We were very fortunate to be able to launch it in 2019, and CNBC was very supportive then, has continued to be supportive. It was an Amazon bestseller for a couple of years for technology. It became a runaway hit in China, shockingly completely unedited, which still amazes me to this day. And just to give you some appreciation for the scope and scale of that market, we had over 500,000 people participating in the digital and physical launch for the book. While the book has run its cycle, the conversation has not, and the subjects that we discussed at that time, I think, are even more relevant today, and hence the opportunity that we've been presented with today to bring you three, I think, critical contributors to and pillars of the community to ensure that humanity stays at the forefront, is the development of a new book media platform that will launch in the fall. Well, we're teasing it here. You've got about 125 pages of content, which is the front end of this process. And we're now going through the exercise of taking contribution from other leaders in this space, including the two of the three that are active here today. Who's with me? That's the end of the shameless plug. Who's with me here today? Well, David Newman, a rocket scientist, literally, who's transforming the most celebrated academic technology laboratory. We'll talk more about that. Carlos Moreira is the cybersecurity pioneer that I referred to earlier, who brought this conversation about the importance of managing identity and trust to the WEF 20 years ago. It's the 20th anniversary of WiseKey's presence. And Hossein Rahnama, for whom AI has been part of his lexicon for 20 years. It's only been part of mine for 2, I think. And Hossein also created what continues to be recognized as the world's leading incubator and accelerator for technology. Dava, I'd love to start with you. I'm going to make a formal introduction, if I can, to just a few of your credentials. You're currently the director of the MIT Media Lab, which is a huge undertaking. Without question, the pioneering initiative of its kind all over the world. You're the Apollo professor, and I have to read this to be sure, the Apollo professor of astronautics at MIT. You're also a professor at the MIT Harvard Health Sciences and Technologies faculty. And you have a very storied and I think fascinating experience with space. I'd love for you to maybe begin with your space experience and tell us how your desire for and your focus on humanity has evolved from that.
Oh, thank you. Lovely to be here. Join the panel. Really, really honored to be here. So thank you so much for the invite. So we're in the sanctuary. So I've been doing a lot of speaking, but I don't know, this is maybe going to be my favorite. Just, to put us in the right frame of being together, being in this literal sanctuary. And if I had 2 words to say, what we're after, the goals, is all about human flourishing. All about human flourishing. So to get to space, I am a rocket scientist. Isn't this what a rocket scientist looks like? I'm a aerospace biomedical engineer and scientist. And so I think a lot about humanity. I think a lot about discovery. So maybe I'll start very quickly out into the solar system. Might be fun for you, and then bring it back, because all of our exploration and wonder and curiosity, it's kind of fueled by, are we alone? Are there other habitable planets? When will we find life? Think about that every day. Maybe you do as well. And evidence is mounting. I think we'll find life, maybe past life, in the next decade. So I want to write a book about that. But that will, the scientific discovery is the point for humanity, for Earth. Earth is my favorite planet, even though I spend a lot of time and energy thinking about Mars exploration, thinking about exoplanet exploration. But here to Spaceship Earth, it's all human-centered design. Humans and all living beings, not human-centric for ego, it's human-centric because we're curious, we're designers, we're makers, and if we work together, that's how we solve problems and issues and our deepest challenges that we have for humanity today. So from a humans and a maker perspective, from the media of art, design, engineering, and scientists all working together. So how lucky am I? Every day, no one's trained like me as a rocket scientist, but there's a composer, there's the same AI expert, and you put us all around the table with a challenge. And we can talk about, which challenges of, whether it's climate and space, whether it's health. These are all related. To my mind, I'm a systems thinker. So they're all related. If we take all of our data from space for Earth, that really helps accelerate positive actions for climate. If we take a look, again, at our satellite data from space and look at pollution, it really helps focus and precise. And we need the foundational models, and we can pinpoint, the local actions that we can take for health and healthcare and especially for different regions. I look at New York and pollution. I don't just look at New York. I look at all the boroughs with the people, the mobility, where the hospitals are, getting people, the necessary care. So it's really I always think in terms of a systems level. To, give some examples, more than 50% of all of our all climate data now is measured from space. You can't live a day without this phone, probably. That means you can't live a day without space. So space isn't esoteric. It's not something else. It's not just for astronauts. And it is part of your life. It's part of your business case. I hope it's part of your life, and hopefully, to not be too long, it's part of human flourishing. It's part of serving this up, working together, aspiring globally. Same values, same shared values. We're in it for excellence, but we're in it for community building. We're in it to be problem solvers. Does that help?
Yeah, no, what a great introduction.
And we're going to the moon at the end of February, but I'll get to talk about that later, I think.
Dave, I think we all know it's there, but I don't think the majority of us are paying attention to space. It's pioneers like this fellow sitting beside you, I think, is going to perhaps pull something out of the bag. We've enjoyed such wonderful conversations already this week, the 4 of us, and it's the thread that connects, which is most intriguing. And in fact, that's what's brought us here, which is humanity. Carlos, you were, if I'm remembering correctly, I think it in fact was 20 years ago when WiseKey was chosen as a global growth company. You've grown up since then. And so here you are back, and not only to talk about those core areas of identity management and trust management, which were the foundation, but in fact you've been pioneering two initiatives, both of which you'll talk about today, and perhaps we'll start with space.
Yeah, absolutely, and thank you very much. And it's an honor for me to be with both of you. What an amazing panel. Yeah. My vision was always, as I was in the UN, I spent 16 years of my career as a Chief Security Officer of the UN. And I work at the genesis of the web in Geneva with Tim Berners-Lee and the team. And at that time, we were very concerned that the web, the internet, did not know what a person was. And it still is the case. 35 years after, we're still growing and putting so much stuff on the top of the infrastructure, and the infrastructure still doesn't understand what a human is. So this has huge consequences because technology is exponential. Humans are linear. It takes us a while to get there, whether technology gets in a few seconds. And this is going to be even more and more the case. So my concern, I create companies not to make money or anything, although we make a lot of money. We are $1 billion now. But our objective was not really that. Our objective was actually fixing the problem that was originally not designed. So how you fix the problem? You have to issue identities. Human needs to have control of their identity, not the platform, not the social media, not the government, not the bank, not your health club. You should have ownership of that identity. And this is easy. Technology-wise, is very easy to get control of your identity. Once you get control of your identity, will be under your consent to share data based on that identity. And that consent has huge value. So what I discovered in India, in Africa, in South America, and suddenly people, by owning their identity, could make money. And they changed totally, reversed the business model, because now the people don't sell identity, they are all of them trillion-dollar companies. So what about if we decentralize that money from those silos to the people, so the people can benefit of that? So that was always my endeavor. I create 5 companies around that. I put 2 on the NASDAQ. And then I started to look into connectivity. Okay, now that I have billions of people with our identities, and we are the largest identity provider on Earth now, how can I connect people so they can connect WhatsApp directly with a satellite? And then in that research, I basically started to launch satellites. So we have now, I came here 2 years ago with 1 satellite. This is a bit bigger. So this is a satellite, as you know, Leo, that basically are going around Earth now. So we have 20, and we're going to have 1,000. And we are building partnerships with a lot of companies, cargo company, transport company, logistic companies, governments, anyone that those satellites were actually 10 days ago, we launched this satellite with the SpaceX. I met Elon Musk in France. I was concerned because I didn't want him to see me as a competitor to Starlink. It wasn't the case because Starlink is for a total different purpose. Those are low orbit satellites. But the beauty of those satellites basically that they will connect you anywhere you are on Earth. And not only you, they will also connect your objects. Because human identity is 8 billion potential identity. Objects, we are talking about trillions of identities. So obviously security is a major issue, and this is my background. The company built a lot of security on the layer. So we have now post-quantum security now being attached. We also look into the possibility of analyzing the data that we are collecting from those devices. AI obviously is a way to do that. And the beauty of that is that the data that we collect is very high quality data because it comes from the device itself. So this is creating a movement. And the Transhuman Code and now the Humanity book that we are expanding with, it's just a reflection of that because this should be, I am a big concern after 20 years in Davos that we still don't talk about human trust, human identity, human Davos. It should be a human Davos, not a robot Davos or a AI Davos it should be a human Davos because we don't have many chances to save humanity. If we don't take the right decisions now, these young kids generations, many of them, they are mine because they're my daughter and my son, they will have trouble in the future. So it is an endeavor to really have a serious talk about humanity. And this book that David and I, we prepare, is the beginning. Obviously, we don't know everything, and we'd love to have your inputs on it so we can maybe convince one day Davos and everybody else, not only Davos, that humanity needs to be at the center, and we should be responsible for that.
Carlos, you and I haven't regrouped here on day 3 yet. We've still got another half day to go, but I'm really encouraged. Humanity is is at the forefront of conversation, perhaps not in the marquees and on all of the main stages, but it's certainly being talked about. And I've thoroughly enjoyed, and I've been quite surprised actually by the volume of contributors to this platform that we can bring forward. Hossein, you and I have been talking about humanity, I think, ever since we met here in Davos 5-6 years ago. I could barely keep up with you on the subject of AI. Perhaps a little more this year. I've got another 365 days under my belt, but I think it'd be great if you could take us back. I'm sure the audience would be very interested. Take us back 20 years ago to the conversations that you were having and the vision that you had for AI together with your colleagues.
Sure. Again, it's great to be here again with you and my colleague Dava and Carlos. I will take you back to about 25 years ago. I was a master's student at University of Toronto. My supervisor was Jeff Hinton's student, so I kind of grew up with that mindset. And my thesis was training a lot of medical knowledge based on cardiology discipline to help general practitioners in rural Canada to be able to detect misdiagnosis when they are detecting cardiac diseases. Spent about a year to build the models, and I remember vividly that I had to leave my laptop on when I left the lab, come back the morning after, and some of my models were ready. I can now train those models in less than a second. So my thinking and the way we are looking at it at the Media Lab is that a lot of the principles in AI are actually not new. A lot of it started at MIT with Marvin Minsky. It evolved in a very incremental fashion. Some of it, actually, the foundational element came from the city that I'm part of, Toronto, and then it kind of converged. But there is nothing exponentially different truly based on the algorithmic aspects of AI. But what is different now is that we have a lot of compute power, we have a lot of data, and we have relatively a cheap way to store this data. And I think if you think about this physics and ecology, you can now demonstrate the power of AI to the world. And it's the very first time in AI's history, that millions and millions of people are training these models. Perhaps you have used tools like GPT and Gemini.
Is there anybody that hasn't used AI yet here in the studio audience? Anyone that hasn't? No, I'm not surprised to not see any hands raised.
This was not the case.
A year ago.
4 years ago, 3 years ago. So there is this new physics, the data physics, the AI physics that is really emerging. And going back to what Carlos mentioned, the viewpoint that we have in our group at the Media Lab is that data is a new asset class, trust is a new currency, and AI is the economy. Yeah. And if you put these together, you can truly form an ecology around AI that is not just about the best algorithms and which model has billion parameters and the other one has trillion parameters. It's really, truly getting inspired by the ecologies that we see in space, in biology, and really apply that to this group of things that are independently working together. In engineering, we used to call them system of systems. We are really believing in the cross-disciplinary aspect of AI, so at the moment we refer to it as an ecology. And then the last thing I say is, even the early days of AI, how many of you used Excel?
I hope all the hands go up.
Yeah, you used optimizations, you used a lot of early mathematical models. So just looking at the term AI, in our view, is that, sure, but AI to do what? For what context? To solve what problem? Because even under the subset of machine learning, you have 60 different ways to use machine learning. Do you want risk? Do you want propensity? Do you want prediction? Do you want association? And this is why tonight, actually, we're announcing a program at MIT Media Lab called Sapien. It's Sapien with AI, so it's human-AI symbiosis. And it's really about a framework that, yes, of course, the technicalities of it is important, but there are 5 imperatives there, including AI needs an ecology. It's not just something that if you think about a company, you can just give it to the CIO or the CTO and say, bring some AI to the organization. It doesn't work like that. The second one, it's the literacy imperative, something that our group is extremely passionate about. Education for the boards of directors, for the C-suites, all the way to K-12 schools. I just joined the board of an independent girls' school in Canada called Havergal College. And I'm so passionate in building curricular activities, in this particular case for young girls, not necessarily about the statistical elements of AI, but really teach them what happens to your data when it leaves your phone. How is it being modeled? What can you expect? How you can audit it? So that literacy imperative is really important. The third one, I mentioned two more and happy to share additional details with you, is the data imperative. In 2008, when Steve Jobs announced the Apple App Store, I was at the Moscone Center. Back then, I could have been an entrepreneur with an iPhone and a laptop in my basement, and I could become a millionaire or a billionaire by creating a game, aka Candy Crush. Now, if you're an AI entrepreneur, even if you build the best possible AI algorithm, without data, you have nothing.
Yeah.
And you have no idea how many entrepreneurs, we teach a course at MIT called the AI Venture Studio course. Many of them are complaining, Professor, no one gives me the data, because the mindset is the mindset of a graduate student. That mindset does not work in the industry. No one should give you the data. There should be zero trust between systems. So there is investment needed on how do you move the data, not just into one model, but allowing models to orchestrate. About a year ago, I really didn't know much about space, but the unique thing about Media Lab that we want to tell the world is that after I spoke with Dava and her lovely partner, I became interested in physics, and especially in interplanetary physics. That how do these orbits and these planets just work in tandem across different orbits, low orbit all the way to high orbit? And that became an inspiration for us to introduce something called a solar-inspired AI model. For example, a company should not move all their data to these very large models. You create an orbit, the first orbit is your data, you train them, you don't give it to anybody. The second orbit, you use niche models to do your work or your business. And the third orbit are the big, large language models. So the innovation is that how do these planets talk to each other? How do they pass data to each other? So if we look at AI in a cross-disciplinary way, including things such as design, this is the very first time in history that you can no longer prescribe to a two-dimensional channel behind a screen to tell what to do. Back then, you had A/B testing and designers and UX. This is a phase in which you throw terabytes of data at these machines. And imagine if you're a regulated industry, if you're in healthcare and you're banking, how do you make sure what you're giving to your users and customers is relevant and auditable? So this is why AI is not a technical element anymore. It's a fabric. It needs a spectrum, similar to how we built spectrum for communications. We now need to build a spectrum of trust that is allowing not just technical people, but the whole humanity be empowered to use AI as a source of differentiation. And that's what we believe at the Media Lab.
Hossein, I'm going to take a segue from that. I have two, actually, if you'll allow me to bifurcate. Firstly, the MIT Media Lab has such an incredible storied history from the days of Nicholas Negroponte and others, brilliant contributors who have been collaborators with Carlos and I, like Sandy Pentland. But you've brought a new verve to this Media Lab. Obviously, you're engaging with wise men like Hossein. Tell me how are you defining, expressing, motivating, encouraging the incredible scientists and evolving scientists about the importance of humanity and their consideration of that every time they come through the door of the Media Lab?
Oh, thanks so much for the question. That's great. So if you don't know us or the Media Lab, I'm glad people do. But it's really a microcosm of MIT. You know, we're a little microcosm. So it is art, design, engineering, and science. And then the North Star is societal impact. So impact to augment, enhance human performance, human flourishing. So that's really anyone who comes to the door, that's what we're all aligned in, all of our community. And so then that says, well, what's the research? What do we serve up? We took a 20-year look because we're the futurists, we're the Imagineers. We say, we're bold. We just say, what if we get it right? That's the first question. What if we get it right? It's transformative technologies, but our technologies are kind of behind the scene. We want the planetary AI. We just want that to go behind the scenes. That's not the focus of it. We spend a lot of time on it, but that should just be seamless. It's you, it's the user. So it's the user interfaces. Again, it's the user experience. And what are societal's big challenges? So, and with our expertise, well, what can we do about it? Education is fundamental. How we get out of this, is all of our next generation. We know that. Every professor knows your student is so much smarter than you and your students and students. So you have to pay it forward. So it's about educating, mentoring, coaching the students. So, and at the Media Lab, we don't believe in siloed disciplines. So we invent new disciplines, and so constructionist learning, because you need to make, it starts with curiosity and play, not the attention deficit. Anyone spends 9, 12 hours on this, you are losing a lot of skills. And if you're a young person, we really worry about that because you're not learning the skills that you need to learn. So constructionist learning and education. I say, foundational. AI, Hossein, AI has been foundational for us, 50 years. I've been exploring Mars for 50 years. Now I'm over at the Media Lab. I was like, I don't know, 50th anniversary, we have a lot of things going on. But they're connected. Now we connect them. So education, learning, creativity. When you bring in the creators, hopefully shout out to the artists, designers out there, you make us all better. I'm telling you what, you make all of the rocket scientists better because you make me have more fun, performance. You move hearts and minds. My math, my algorithms, a little boring. So, bring the humanity, bring that civilization, bring that civil society to the table. So that's really important to us. And we cultivating creativity. We think a lot of that was lost. We had the pandemic. News to y'all, you've all been through astronaut training. I was in decades of my career locking people up in isolated, confined environments to see, are they going to make it? Can they go on my long missions? Can they spend 6 months? Now we've all been through it. How did that work out? Not so well. So, maybe y'all don't want to go into space like, myself, my crazy students, but that's just, in the seriousness, it's a test case. And so that's how we can perform and kind of better our technology, transformative technologies. But at the end of the day, every day we, leave the lab, we should say, do we help people reimagine and redesign their lives? We're small, so the final thing I'll say, it's about scaling. It's about scaling. If we get it right, we always work with industry partners. We always work with government partners. So we just might be, one of the crazy people you want to bring to the table to help, be a thought partner on this.
Well, situated in between you two practicing academics is a scaler. What's interesting is that the common thread here is obvious, which is the quest for advancement of human potentiality. However, Carlos, you didn't have the benefit of being in a laboratory with other academics day in and day out. You've been envisioning and pioneering and borne the scrapes and scratches for it, most often because you were well ahead of the curve. And here we are back at WEF 2025, and you're still ahead of the curve on post-quantum computing chips, which you debuted yesterday. And you've brought us a satellite that was really a vision a year ago when you sat on this stage. What's that experience been like?
So I always wanted to be an astronaut, to be honest. My kids know that, and I couldn't because maybe I'm a bit too old now to do it. So I rather went to solve the other problem, which is humanity. I mean, we are on a church. Church were built to connect humanity to God, right? That's the rule of a church. That's the objective. What an amazing symbol we have here on really connecting humanity with something bigger, with something higher, with something more, I would say, inspirational than what we already have. And this is a bit what some very smart people are trying to do, is actually develop the technologies that allow us to do that, to go to Mars, to see a space as not anymore a frontier, but part of the architecture on the internet, and that's the panel we have yesterday. So I think we have to unleash human potential and not just augment human potential, which is something that has connotation with AI, technology, robotics, putting ourselves chips on the brain. This is not necessary. Let's unleash our potential, the ones we already have with technology. But while we unleash that potential, we respect humanity and human beings. And I think this is available. I mean, and we don't have many chances left, so we are maybe in the last generation. Whatever decisions we're going to take in this generation, it will affect the next one, detrimental to everything: climate change, health, distribution of wealth. The United Nations, when I was in the UN, and this is answering your question, we designed the Sustainable Development Goals. And I was part of that team at that time working on the Sustainable Development Goals. And we projected, there was a moonshot, really, first time ever that was a really moonshot. But we were very pessimistic that technology will be able to achieve the sustainable goal. Now we do have the technology to achieve all the sustainable development goals. We can cure cancer, we can stop poverty, we can equalize wealth distribution. So there are things that they are low-hanging fruit on the fourth industrial revolution. And that's what I said before. We need to have, and I am actually very happy with this CNBC event in Singapore with the name Convergence. It's a powerful name, Convergence, because this is exactly what we are. We are in a convergent period as we were in the Renaissance, where art, architecture, mathematics, philosophy got together, and they reinvented the world. We are at that convergence point now, and we can reinvent the world to save humanity and empower and unleash humans.
If we get it right.
And unfortunately, the digital clock in front of us tells us that our time is up. It's hard to believe. I've so enjoyed the opportunity to engage, interact, and think together with you all week, and how wonderful we've had the opportunity to come and share for the studio audience, and for those of you who are watching from afar, just what opportunities lie in front of us, and just how much better the world can be with your efforts. Thank you so much.
Thank you.